My name's Steve. I'm an alcoholic. I'm also a food addict, but worse, I'm a pastor. Yeah. You might be wondering what a preacher's doing here on a Sunday. I'm on sabbatical right now, which means I'm not working for like 3 months, and it is awesome. I've been in San Antonio for 10 years. I've been sober for 9 of those 10 years. My sobriety date's 11/17/2012. And I did find myself in the big book. It's on page 87. It says, see where religious people are right. Really? Yes. Listen up. This is the place I got sober. But it's a long story to get to that first meeting. And I'll just say this: I had a really great childhood. I didn't have any problems, I don't think. I mean, there wasn't a lot of alcohol in the home. I mean, my dad drank and stuff, but he never really would get drunk and everything. It wasn't until I got to college that alcohol entered my life. I never drank before college because I would see my sister drink, and she would get really drunk, and I would see guys take advantage of her, and I couldn't do anything. She was older than me, and I could never help her or do anything. So I just swore, I'm never doing this, because look at what it's doing to my sister, and I just thought it was terrible. Well, then I get to college, and I'm 18, 19 years old, and I'm in this musical. In fact, during college, I don't drink at all. In fact, I'm going to like these frat parties, and I'm the guy that had the Sprite can that was just kind of grooving on the corner, while everybody else is just partying their ass off, and I'm just wondering what's going on. Nobody wants to hang out with me in the corner with my Sprite. Anyway, I was in this play, and this other girl was in this play, and I was in love with this girl. Oh my gosh, I was absolutely in love with this girl. And we were love interests in this play, which didn't help any at all because I was actually in love with her. She was actually not in love with me, and would tell me this multiple times, but we had to kiss each other in this play. So I thought that was my chance, right? I took that kiss a little too far, and afterwards we're behind the scenes, and she looks at me and she says, "You were going too far with that kiss." And I was like, "Oh no, I wasn't." And she got really mad at me, and we were no longer friends. In fact, she ended up leaving school later on that year, and I was always scared that was part of it. But whenever I found out she didn't love me, I went to a buddy's house, or a buddy's dorm room, and I knocked on his door, and I said, "Joel, get me drunk." And he was like, "But you don't drink." And I was like, "I know, but get me drunk." And he goes, "Okay." And so all he had was peach schnapps and Sunny Delight. It was terrible, but yeah. First time, right there. That was it, yeah. And I remember the first swig of it. It tasted horrible, and it was awesome. I mean, it lit my head on fire. All of a sudden, the sparks were going off, and I wanted more of that. And I kept drinking that, and I kept drinking that, and I kept drinking that all night long. I don't remember anything else. I stopped thinking about the girl. I did. I stopped thinking about the girl, and I found a solution. All of a sudden, if I have a problem, if I start drinking this stuff, I'm not going to be thinking about that shit anymore. And that was beautiful. And then I woke up the next morning, and my head was pounding, and it hurt so bad. And I went over to Joel's room, and I'm like, "Joel," and he's like, "What?" I said, "Dude, my head hurts so bad." And he cracks open the beer, and he hands it to me, and it's warm. And he said, "You ain't even in the fridge or anything." He says, "Just drink that." And so I do, and I felt better. And I was like, I have arrived. I now know how to deal with life. All I got to do is drink. My problems go away. Whenever it gets too much, I have another drink, and then the headaches go away. So I started smoking. I started dipping. I started trying other recreational, pleasantries. I ended up getting kicked out of my dorm room my sophomore year. I was an RA, actually, at the time. So that's the person that helps everybody else get their rooms and stuff. That's supposed to be the person in charge. And I ended up getting kicked out because I set my dorm room on fire. That's a different meeting. Then I got kicked off of campus because the apartment I was in, I ended up having a keg in my bathroom, and that's apparently not supposed to do that. And then I ended up getting kicked out of the apartments that I moved into after that, just shortly after. So it seemed like every 6 months I was having to move. And my parents were like, "What's going on?" And of course, I would always blame it on the the administration or the teachers or the city of Seguin or whatever. Somehow I graduated, and I ended up took a job at a church because I was going to be a musician. I was going to be a choir director, and I was going to be a musician. And this church needed somebody, and so I took this job at a church. But they also needed a youth minister, which a little bit of a backstory. I did youth ministry over the summers. You know, in between summers of college, I would go work at a church for 3 months. And I don't remember any church I worked at because I was absolutely blitzed the entire time helping children. And my best friend worked here in San Antonio at a liquor store. And I would come up to see Mark. And there's a chair in here for him someday. But anyway, I would come up to see Mark, and I would go into the liquor store, and we would walk around the back wall because the camera couldn't catch us. And I don't know how much liquor we stole from that liquor store for those years that I was a youth minister at a church. Helping children, yes. I get this job at a church. I'm a youth minister now. I'm also a choir director, and things are going pretty well. And in fact, I get to this place where I'm like, I don't really care for the drinking too much anymore because it was hard to wake up and do work, you know. And so I start slowing down a little bit. But then all of a sudden, I get this phone call that my mom is sick. She's on her 3rd strain of cancer. And I said, that's it. I got to go home. I'm going to help her. I'm going to get her better. You know, I'm going to save the day. Hoorah! And I end up moving home. And I get a job as a teacher at a public school as a choir director. And I have no degree in that whatsoever. But somehow I talked my way into this, sitting with the principal in a Chili's over drinks and ended up. I got a job at a school as a teacher again, and I should not have been there one bit. Because apparently you're supposed to have like lesson plans and like follow curriculum. And he showed up in my classroom in April and just looked at me and goes, "What have you been teaching?" And I said, "This, yay!" And the kids had a good time. My mother ended up passing away. And I was dating this girl at the time. In fact, I was engaged to her. Her name was Kathy. And all I remember about that is I met her at a bar, and we drank tons together and smoked pot a lot. And I only bring that up because she was with me at my mom's funeral, and I remember being in the pew next to her, bawling my eyes out, and all I can remember is crying. I was so drunk, and I was so high at my mother's funeral. My mom was a saint. I mean, she was wonderful, wonderful person. Did deserve that. Then I almost got fired from teaching because I was drunk on the job. And so I quit because you're not going to fire me. I'm just going to quit. And I quit mid-year teaching, left the kids, left the school, left them all in a lurch. And I went all the way to Canyon Lake, Texas to work at New Life Children's Treatment Center as a spiritual director. Yes. I was going to help troubled teenage girls with their problems. Meanwhile, I am drinking so much and smoking so much and just I'm hiding. I'm absolutely hiding. I don't really remember much of my time there. But there came a point where I was driving home with a buddy of mine from a bar, and we almost got into a nasty wreck, and that scared me. He was driving. He was really drunk. I was really drunk too, but it scared me enough to where that next morning I woke up and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be here anymore. I can't. So I quit smoking, and I was determined I'm just going to smoke pot, you know, because that's going to be so much better. If I just smoke pot, I'm not going to drink anymore, and that'll help me out. And so I did, and I stopped for like, I don't know, maybe a year. And all of a sudden it hit me. I need to be back at church. I need to be back helping kids. I can't be doing this anymore. And so I got my old job back. When I got there, they told me that I had to cut my hair, stop smoking, and because I had hair down to my shoulders and a big, ratty, nasty goatee. Yeah, I don't believe there's a single picture out there about it, so you'll never find it. I got back to work at the church, and I was a youth minister again. Things were going pretty good. and I started the Stevens Program of Recovery. And it was a 3-point program, which was spiritual, physical, and mental. And every day I just had to do one thing with all of those, and then things were going to be fine. And things were working for a while. And I was working out, and I was reading, and I was practicing instruments, and I was going to church, and I was helping people. And all of a sudden, things started happening pretty good in my life. And I met this girl who lived in Austin, and I said, hey, I'm going to marry her. And then the church is telling me, hey, we think you might make a good pastor. And I'm like, yay. So I end up applying to seminary. And I'm sober at this time. And things are going great. And I start dating my future wife. Her name is Becca. And we're going out to eat. We start drinking a little bit. You know, we're hanging out. Things are okay. Things are kind of fun. And somewhere along the way, I start to dip again. I start hiding again. I start hiding bottles again. I don't want anybody to see what I'm doing. Because now I'm going to seminary and I'm supposed to be a pastor because we're way above reproach. But I start hiding tobacco. In fact, I would hide it underneath the trash liner in the bathroom trash can because my wife never would take out the trash. Until she did, and then she found it and got really mad, and I swore I'd never do it again. Until the next time that she found it, and of course, being a good alcoholic, I hid it in the same exact place. She did. There's a third time that would happen. That would land me in therapy, but I'll come to that later. So my wife and I get married. I'm in seminary, and I'm drinking a lot more now, and I'm studying about God and to be safely and all that kind of stuff. And we also have a baby at this point in time. And I remember I was at the birth, but I don't remember much of it. I have pictures to show me, but I don't remember. I don't remember hardly any of it. I don't remember the first year of my daughter's life, and it scares me that I don't remember that. So I was married after my first year of seminary, had a baby 9 months later. Then we moved 6 weeks after that to Laramie, Wyoming. Because in seminary, they send you on a year away to learn how to be a pastor in a different setting. And so I landed this church in Laramie, Wyoming, and I'm going to be a campus pastor working at this church. And I don't really remember much of that either because we didn't have any money at all. But somehow I found enough money to always buy the thumb jug of wine. On the bottom, the big barrel of wine that you can get one a day. I mean, that was my stuff. One. I'm not joking. One a day. And if I had a little extra money, I would get the thumb jug of liquor, scotch, because that was more refined drinking. We would be sent out sometimes to go to like conferences, and I love that because I get my own hotel room, and I can hide. I pull the blinds down on the windows. You couldn't see in. I put the do not disturb sign out there, and I would not go to anything that the conference would ask you to go to. I would sit inside the room and drink and drink and drink and drink and hide and pass out and drink and pass out and drink and swear I didn't have a problem. I had to speak at one of these things one time, and so I had to get up in the morning, go to the thing, I just talk to them and everything. And so I wake up, drink some coffee, try to sober up, eat a little food, and I'm up there talking about campus ministry, and all of a sudden my stomach just starts to, rumble, and I know exactly what's about to happen. They don't, because I look perfectly fine. I'm sure they were all like, "This guy's drunk," but I thought I looked perfectly fine. And I ran off to the bathroom where I just puked and puked and puked. And I came back out, tried to wash my mouth out, finished my presentation, sat down, leaned over to the pastor next to me. I said, "That's pretty good." And he goes, "You got something on your shirt." That wasn't enough for me to say I have a problem. That wasn't enough. I came back from Wyoming, graduated from seminary somehow. Had to prove to people that I was a pastor, that I could do this, and got a call to a church out in the middle of the country, and I was really, really excited. By the way, I was ordained into ministry on July 3rd, 2008. Today is 14 years. Yes. And the cool thing is I've actually been sober longer. I've been a sober pastor longer than a drunk pastor, so there you go. No kidding. I got called into the country, man, outside of Washington County, Texas, outside of Brenham, where everybody wears boots, everybody has a truck, and on the back of the truck is a cooler with beer in it, and they always wanted the pastor to pick their cooler. Heaven. I mean, Sunday morning, these guys would be out cooking chicken for some big barbecue thing. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking over to like prep for something or other, and they're out there and I'm opening up. 5 o'clock in the morning, guys. Are you sure you want to do that? They're throwing me a beer, and I'm like, hell yeah, Sunday. They would fill up the chalice on the altar for me. Cool. Nobody drank from the chalice. I mean, they all had little bitty cups. I got the big goblets. And it was a requirement to finish the goblets at every communion. And I was pushing for 2 services, you know. I was drinking so much. We had another kid there. My son was born while we were in this little town. And I don't remember his birth either. I do remember getting mad at the nurses for turning the television off because the Cowboys were playing. And I got irate. And I got mad. And my wife smacked me, telling me to shut up. I'm trying to have a baby here, you know. I don't remember his birth. I absolutely don't. I was absolutely a mess. And then all of a sudden the pain started happening. Started getting massive stomach pains, back pains, thinking I was having a heart attack. Went to the ER one time. They didn't know. They thought maybe it's, a heart attack or it's stress or maybe it's just a really bad heartburn or something. They gave me all kinds of different medicines to try and pain meds. Woohoo! Because that was wonderful. The pain meds, they worked great. And then you drink a little bit on top of it, they worked even better. So I ended up getting a new call to San Antonio. And weeks after being here, about a month and a half after being here, all of a sudden I recognize that I'm having more pain. And I go to the ER again, and they don't know what to do with me. And then it's Thanksgiving. Actually, let me back up a little bit. I'm at my friend's house for my birthday party. My birthday is November 15th. This is November 16th that we're at their house. We're having a party, and I'm not drinking that much, because my wife starts drinking a little bit, and I want to make sure that we get the kids home safe. Somehow, that made sense to me that night. We come home, and we're safe. And I know my wife had too much to drink because she ended up going to sleep. We get back home, and everybody's in bed, and I'm at home alone, and I go back to the fridge, and I find my bottle in the freezer, and I pull it out, and of course, I always take a shot, right? Just right away, just a quick shot from the freezer, pour my big goblet of wine, of scotch, and a little splash of Coke on top, and I start watching TV and just drinking. I'm all by myself. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't know if I peed myself or I spilt my drink, but all of a sudden, I'm in all this pain, and I'm absolutely sopping wet, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm crying out, back up, and I can't even say it. I can't even speak, and I have all this pain, this tightness, and I swear I'm dying. And I'm screaming out, back up! Somehow, my daughter hears me. She comes down the stairs. She's 4, 5. Daddy, you okay? Go get Mom. So she goes upstairs, runs against Mom. Becca comes downstairs. She goes, what? And I said, call the ambulance. I'm dying. And so she's crying. My kid's crying. They call the ambulance. The people show up, cart me off to the hospital, give me pain meds. Woohoo! I'm better now. And it would be another week when Thanksgiving would happen, because they sent me back home because they couldn't figure out what was going on. Gave me the same stuff, the pain meds. I even got nitro, just in case it should happen again. Take nitro and come back and see us. And I mean, I didn't have a lot of confidence in the medical fraternity, but I did like the medicines that they gave me, and I was okay with that. Thanksgiving comes around, it's right after my birthday, and I'm going up to see my dad in Kerrville, and on the way up, I'm just curled over in the seat with pain, and I'm drinking Pepto-Bismol, just chugging it because it hurts so bad, thinking it's the heartburn. I'm absolutely in pain, absolutely struggling, and I end up on the floor in my dad's house during a Cowboys game, and curled over. I can't even look at the screen. I'm just curled up in pain, and my wife says, that's it, we're going to the doctor. They take me to the emergency room. While I'm there, I'm throwing up the Pepto-Bismol. My body is shutting down. And the doctor looks at me and he says, "You have pancreatitis." And I said, "Thank God you know what it is. What is it?" And he tells me, and he goes, "Well, the person your age should not have pancreatitis. Only really old people and drunks get that. How much do you drink?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, I haven't had anything to drink in like the past week," because I hadn't. And back then my wife hit me the first time, smacked me and says, "Well, tell him the truth." And I was like, "Well, I mean, I drink some. I mean, a couple a night, maybe." And she hits me again. And I was like, "God, well, how much do I drink then?" She's like, "A lot." And he's like, "Well, you got pancreatitis." And he goes, "You're going to have to be here. I don't know." He goes, "I don't know if you'll make it. I don't know. We'll see. Give you 50-50. And that kills my wife. She just starts bawling. And I'm like, "Okay." And so they put me in, and they give me the little button thing, right, for the pain management. And I'm just... The nurse is coming in saying, "I'm sorry, but you can't have any more for another hour. But it hurts really bad." She goes, "I know. Yeah." So I'm giving this 50-50 chance. I'm in this bed, and I don't never really believed in premonition. I never believed in vision, that type of thing. And you can believe it or not. And that's entirely up to you. But that night, I'm lying in bed. Nobody's there with me, and I look over to my left in this chair, and there's this gruff-looking doctor. Kind of looks like Bill a little bit, you know. He had this big cigar in his mouth, and he's like, "How you doing, bud?" And I'm like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm your doctor." And I was like, "No, you're not. No, you can't be my doctor." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You drink, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine. You get back out there, you'll be able to drink again." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." And so I'm thinking I'm gonna be able to go back out and drink again. In the hospital, dying because I drank too much, and I'm thinking about drinking again. It's cunning. It's baffling. It's so powerful. And he leaves, and I turn over to the other side of the bed, and there's this clean-cut guy. Doesn't look like anybody here, but this clean-cut guy. And he looks at me and he goes, "Stephen, you're going to kill yourself if you drink again." And I was like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm your doctor." And I'm like, "No, you're not. What is going on?" He goes, "If you drink again, you're going to die." And I'm like, "Dang it, where's the other guy?" And they both disappeared. And I to this day, I swear I'm like talking to God and the devil at the same time or something. They're speaking to me very clearly, and I heard it. And I woke up the next morning and told Becca, and I was like, "Where'd that nice-looking doctor go? I want to talk to him again." And she's like, "Who are you talking about?" The good-looking doctor. She goes, "There's no good-looking doctors here." And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And so I ended up coming home, finally got out of the hospital, healed enough to do so, and I have to have my gallbladder taken out. But I can't have any food, and they tell me do not drink at all. Right now, I'm too inflamed. Everything's got to heal. And I ended up getting my gallbladder taken out. 30 days later, I walk into the rooms of AA. Now, I didn't do that willingly because my wife found another dip can during this time frame in the trash can, same spot. And told me I needed to go to therapy to get over this because she can't trust me. So I go to therapy, and I don't remember the guy's name that I went to. I tried finding him, and I don't know. He was also just some strange premonition or whatever. But after I came back from the hospital, I'm sitting in a therapy session with him, and he goes, "You need to go to AA." And I was like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Go to Club 12. I want you to go to Club 12, and I want you to ask for a closed meeting." And I said, "What's that?" And he goes, "Don't worry, they'll tell you. Walk in the door and ask for a closed meeting." Okay, I'll try that. I come home and I tell my wife that's what I'm going to do, and she's like, "Whatever, go ahead." So I make my way to the doors here. I walk in. There's a whole bunch of people leaving because the 11 o'clock meeting had just ended. And I'm watching all these people leave, and I finally ask somebody, "Where's the meeting happening?" And they go, "Right in there." And I said, "Is it a closed meeting?" And they was like, "Yeah." And they laughed at me. And I walked in, and I sat in that room, and I just sat right next to the door, you know, that good spot that we all sit in when we first get here. And there's this guy leading the meeting. And I swear he's drunk because Alcohol must have done a number on him, and I swear he's still drunk. And all of a sudden he tells his name. He's been sober like 30-something years, and I'm like, bullshit. And then he says, is there a newcomer here? And I don't know why, but my hand went up. And the place went nuts. Yay! And I'm like, oh, God. They're like, come on up here. I was like, oh, no. No. And they're like, we got a gift for you, And I come up, and John's holding this coin. It's desire chip. And he's like, give us your name. Steve. And he goes, and what? And what are you? Oh. And I'm an alcoholic. And they go nuts again. Yay! Woo! And it was that moment that I realized that you can't really unring that bell when you admit it. So he gives me this coin, and they tell me to put it in my pocket. If I think about drinking again, throw it in the drink. If it melts, drink. Go for it. Told me to put it on my forehead, smash it with a hammer, and all these kind of final things they were saying. The only thing I remember them really saying to me is, keep coming back. Come back tomorrow, and try not to drink between now and the next meeting, and see how this thing works. So I went home with my coin, and I came in, I walked in all proud. Hey, Becca, look at that. She goes, whatever. She doesn't trust me. She doesn't like me at the time. And I end up coming back the next day. And I walk back in. I know where the door is. I know where the room is. I come back in, and I sit at a different spot so they won't recognize me. And John's not at the chair. He's sitting somewhere else. There's another guy chairing this meeting. And I was like, I thought John was the president. I don't know what's going on. And this other guy's chairing the meeting. And then he sees me. And the meeting hadn't started yet. And he walks all the way back across the room to me. And he goes, hey, Steve, how you doing? And I'm like, dang it. I don't want y'all to know who I am. I don't want you to know my name. I sure don't want you to know I'm a pastor, because I don't want the people in church to know I'm an alcoholic. My world is teetering on this little piece right here, and y'all are going to fuck it all up. No! No! So he remembers my name, and I just sit on my hands because I'm not going to raise anything. You're not going to call on me. And they didn't give any more coins out that day. And then all of a sudden, and by the way, I'm like 32 days sober. And they said, anybody with 30 days? I'm not about to tell you that. No, I never got a 30-day coin. I didn't because I was not going to do it. But when it came around to 60, I did. And I brought that coin home and I showed Becca and she's like, whatever. But somewhere along the way, I started listening to some of the things you folks were saying. Keep coming back. Don't drink between meetings. That's all I could do. It's all I could do. Then somebody says, do you pray? And I was like, yeah, I'm a pastor. Yes. Do you need help? They said, why don't you try praying please in the morning, thank you at night? And I was like, that's so stupid. What? Please keep me sober today. And at night, thank you for a day of sobriety. Okay. So I tried that. I wasn't drinking. My body was healing. All of a sudden, I had a couple of coins in my pocket. 90 days. I keep coming back. But this time, y'all said, get a big book. Read the big book. So I did. I got a big book. And I read the whole thing, except for the agnostics. And cover to cover. I'm not going to read the agnostics because I'm a pastor. And 90 days, this guy's in here sharing. And I don't remember what he said, but I just remember listening to him going, I want that. I want that. And I walked up to him afterwards and I said, will you be my sponsor? And he was saying, sure. You got a big book? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, meet me here tomorrow. So I did. And I stood right outside that door with my big book like a little kid right on the first date, man. I'm just like, woo, here we go. Here we go. And he meets with me and we start reading through this book. And we start going chapter by chapter, step by step. And all of a sudden we get to We Agnostics. And he goes, did you read this? And I was like, no, I didn't read that. And he's like, why? And he goes, oh, come on. I'm a pastor. No, I'm not an agnostic. And he goes, what's the first word? And I was like, we. And he's like, yeah. because you've given your power over to something else. You made alcohol your higher power. You made tobacco your higher power. You made pot your higher power. You made pride your higher power, which means you're not giving that to God. God is not your higher power in those moments, which means you're relying on your own self-knowledge to do things. That's an agnostic. Congratulations, you're an agnostic. Okay. So we read the chapter. Best chapter ever. Read it. 3 months in, I'm sitting in the room. This guy's sitting next to me, and he goes, "Hey, Steve, what do you do for a living?" Oh. So I tell him, and that's whenever I feel like my anonymity was truly wide open. And I had to trust you. That was hard. I had to trust you with my anonymity. I wasn't going to tell anybody about you, because if I did, guess what? That means they would know about me. If I told anybody that you're an alcoholic, or that I come here, then I'm blowing my own anonymity. I'm not going to do that to anybody. So I, at that point in time, I was willing to try something new. And so I listened to what my sponsor said. I started working the steps with him. And somewhere along the way, I was driving home, and I wasn't looking at the liquor store. I didn't stare at it as I drove past it, like pining for those days of yore. All of a sudden, I drove home, and I sat in my driveway and just cried because I didn't think about scotch. I didn't think about it. I got home, and it's still there. I mean, that guy knew my name. But I didn't have to go in that store. I didn't have to drive by that store. I didn't have to fight it. I didn't have to walk around the aisle at H-E-B. All of a sudden, I had no compulsion to want to drink. And that was the moment that I was sold on this program. I didn't care if y'all were serving Kool-Aid. I was going to drink it. I was going to, what you guys had, I wanted. Because that I did not believe was possible. That I could no longer think about alcohol when I put it inside of my body, when to use it to solve my problems. So I started going to multiple meetings, because my sponsor told me, he goes, "How many are you going to a week?" And I was like, "Oh, I go to Club 12 once a week, Mondays I go to the 11 o'clock meeting." And he's like, "Does it feel good?" I'm like, "Yeah, it feels great, And he's like, "I start my week off the right way." And he's like, "Good. Wouldn't 2 meetings feel better?" You may be right, So I started going to multiple meetings. I went through all the steps. Then he says, "Get a sponsee." Okay, I find the drunkest guy in the room, walk over, sit next to him, and I was like, "I'm going to be your sponsor." And he's like, "Whatever, And I started working with this guy, and I'm buying him lunch, and I'm giving him rides, and I'm taking him to meetings, and I'm bending over backwards for him. And this guy's still out drinking and drinking and drinking. He keeps showing up because he's getting free shit, And so I call my sponsor, and I'm like, "Dude, won't get sober. I'm practicing these principles in all my affairs. I'm working these steps to the best of my ability, and he is still out there drinking." And he goes, "Are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm not drinking." He goes, "That's the point. This is the best program in the world. Absolutely the best program. It is a selfish, selfless program. I will do anything for you because it helps me. Absolutely helps me stay sober today. I will do anything for you because it helps me today be spiritually fit, to be of maximum service to others. I will do anything for you, absolutely anything, because it helps me. And I hope you do the same thing. To the newcomers that came in today, welcome, welcome, welcome. This program freaking works. It works for preachers. I mean, come back next Sunday, you'll hear another one. It still works. And if it can work for this guy that used to hide everything, I'm an open book. And I'll say this, I'm getting close to the end of the time here, but we were painting our bathroom this past week, and my wife and I were in there painting, and when I quit smoking the final time, I was chewing nicotine gum. And I chewed that shit for like 2 years, trying to quit. I didn't even think I could use these, to stop that, but I didn't. I was going to do it on my own. So I started hiding the gum. Why? So anyway, I finally quit chewing the gum like over a year ago, so I've been without cigarettes for quite some time. But so painting, we had to clear out the bathroom, right? We cleared all the shelves and stuff like that, all the trash cans, and on the top shelf, way back, is one piece of nicotine gum. And somehow magically found its way to the very back corner where neither of us could reach or see. And I'm up there cleaning, and I just pull it out, and I'm like, ha, that's so funny. Put it in my pocket, keep going, you know? Then all of a sudden, my wife's doing laundry, and she's all of a sudden putting it out, and all of a sudden the thing falls out of my pocket. And she walks over to me, and she goes, are you chewing gum again? I was like, oh, no, that was in the top, thing. And when I found it, I just put it in there. I said, it's pretty crazy, right? She's like, okay. What? 9 years. My wife trusts me. She trusts that my word is what it is. And I'm not bullshitting, I'm not hiding. I will say this. In recovery, it's not all beautiful. Life happens. I've been divorced, and I remarried the same woman. My dad died in recovery. I was sober at my dad's funeral. I was sober during the divorce, and I was sober during my remarriage. And each of those times, I called my sponsor. So what do? And he gave me suggestions. I listened to what he said. I used those suggestions. I said it word for word to my wife, and it saved our marriage. I listened to what he said, and I went to my dad's funeral, and I was present. He even stopped a fight from happening between my aunt and my great aunt. It was hysterical, but and I was able to get remarried to my wife. It wasn't easy. We still have problems at times, but we are working on those. We have 12 steps to guide us on those, and I have sponsors to help me out with it. And I don't have to drink over any of it. Absolutely not. I get to feel every single thing. And here's the crazy shit, y'all, is that at every one of those stages in my life, when I thought it was just devastating and dark and heavy and I didn't know what to do, I call my sponsor, I go to a meeting, and I'll be damned if I don't pick up a sponsee. What? All of a sudden, I get to rework these steps with somebody else. I get to get out of myself and help somebody else. When I'm dealing with on life's term, that's what this program gives us. It gives us a way to live. If you're struggling with that drink, if you're struggling with thinking about drinking, if it's got you mentally, spiritually, physically, right now, this program of recovery can remove all of it. Absolutely all of it. I will always be an alcoholic. I'm always going to be a food addict. I'm always going to be a pastor. But I don't have to act out on any of those things. I don't have to change the way I feel using any of those things. I just get to be Steve today, one day at a time. I woke up this morning, said my prayers, went to a meeting, took a walk. I'm at another meeting right now. I'm going to be with my sponsor later on tonight. I'm going to hit another meeting. That's a beautiful Sunday. Keep coming back. Keep coming back. And it really works well if you don't drink between meetings. Thank you.